What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Cutlass Boardgames channel, and I want to talk to you a little bit about Marvel Snap conspiracy theories. Now, there's a couple of different things that I hear people talking about coming and going, and I've got a couple of my own things that I think is stuff that, like, unless Second Dinner actually comes out and confirms or denies, is really worth having a look at and having a talk about how the different things have got into the game and what kind of choices they have made and how that's going to affect you as a player. So the first thing is bots. There's a lot of discussion about how bots are used and how cheating bots occur higher on the ladder. And let's get into it, right? The premise is that bots are added to the game to ensure that there is fast matchmaking. So you're not sitting there, you're not waiting for a big queue, just to get a fair game, as it were. And because the matchmaking is relatively quick, you can see that it does work a lot of the time. And what the air quote cheating bots are supposed to do is supposed to be set up in such a way that it does provide a challenge. And in a lot of the cases, people's complaints is that it's impossible to beat, or the bots have like a ridiculously insane advantage in some circumstances, some matchups. I've personally had a lot of trouble with them over the last couple of days, but I'll get into that in a second. When you first start playing the game, there is like the intro bots that will just be really average or whatever and pretty easy to beat, to give you an idea of what you're supposed to be doing as you're learning the game. And so these two things as a concept aren't super ridiculous. So to use League of Legends as a comparison, they have tutorial bots for you to play against while you're learning how to play the game. And that lets you not feel like the game is too hard. You're able to get in and practice kind of what's going on without being under too much pressure to do what you're trying to do. And for the first couple of levels when you're just starting out, it's pretty much the same. In Marvel Snap, you're playing against these introductory bots and it's pretty straightforward. And then up to a certain point, then you start playing real people more as a percentage. And then the general consensus online is that once you're at higher and higher ranks, you'll start to play against harder bots. But I think there's a little bit more to it than that. Based on the original premise that bots are added to the game to ensure faster matchmaking, I believe, me personally, am playing against possibly the greatest percentage of them. And here's why. First of all, I'm in the smallest server region. Based on how a lot of video games separate the different server regions, Oceania is like one of the smallest ones, because usually if anything is too big, Asia will get like one or two of its own servers. OCE is like Australia, and then like just a little bit north of that, right? And then you have all the northern hemisphere stuff is a lot more together and has their own servers and stuff like that. So not only am I in the smallest player pool, I am probably in the largest collection level bracket. So the top percent of people, right? So I'm not going to be playing against people that have incomplete pool 3, possibly, as far as I could probably tell, right? And I'm high rank. And I'm playing pretty regularly, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. It's assembling the infinity gauntlet of never ever getting matchmaking. Now, when I'm bumping into a queue at these times, at this place, at this level, I'm getting less than 1 minute matchmaking timing. Now, unless if there's 100 other idiots in exactly my circumstances where they're awake in the US time zones while being in Australia and a content creator, and so they're trying to be in front of it as much as possible, it's unlikely that there's that many people in exactly my situation, right? So I'm playing a shitload of cheating bots, and it sucks. And this is going to segue into a bit that I have in a minute, but I think that this specific grind to infinite, because I've been sick the last couple of days, and so I've been playing weird hours. I'm sleeping during the day and I've been doing stuff like that at night, has given me a weird insight into what it's like. So the first thing is, as soon as the reset happened and Zabu came out, I did a big stream where the plan was to speed run to infinite And I got from 70 to 77 in 5 hours or whatever it was, which is really bad for me, right? And then later on, over 2 days after that, playing exclusively on mobile, I went from 77 to 94. And then over the last 3 days, playing at this early morning time zone, playing almost exclusively against what my assumption is probably a 70% plus ratio of cheating bots, I went from 94 to 87, 77, something ridiculous. Like just some ridiculous rank drop where it just genuinely felt impossible to win games, like having a huge retreat rate most of the time. And then in the games where I felt like I would win, I'm losing by like 1 or 2 points of power. Like they just found a way to get there. And it's like super demoralizing. You go until you're punting games like on top of that anyway, right? And so it's super, super bad for player morale. And it sucks. Obviously, not super excited about it. But can confirm it does exist. And I think the purpose of it being there just to buffer the matchmaking timing is not great. I think the purpose for it there to just make sure that matches are quick is a problem, because then in circumstances like mine where I'm going to be encountering low peak times, low player rate, low real human rate, how am I supposed to play the game if they've got these bots that are insurmountable, so to say? Something that was mentioned on Twitter, there's a little bit of a thread where Nina is a noob, Dara and Binks were getting in and talking about the different bots and stuff like that. And it's really cool to see people from the community coming and having discourse about this kind of thing. But one of the sentiments that I believe Binks pointed out was that it sucks because it forces you to have to play a really, really specific deck to get any progress anywhere. And if I'm stuck in this situation, I'm constantly playing against these accounts and nothing else, what, like, is my fun for the game just dead? Do I just have to find the one deck that is the top 1% of things, which I currently can't play because I don't own Darkhawk or Shuri, so do I just don't get to play the game? Is this right? So from a game design perspective, as a game designer, you're balancing these two things. The first thing is the player feels bad amount where they're stuck waiting and they're not playing. So not playing the game, bad, right? Playing the game and it being really horrible experience, also bad, right? This is the League of Legends problem, where you have pretty fast queue times for people to play the game. Every game of League of Legends is horrible, so it's just like just a terrible ratio. Where if you're waiting 5 to 7 minutes for a game and every game was fantastic, you'd be okay with it. You wouldn't care, right? Which, like, in some games we have really, really high elo, that's often pretty common, and the gameplay of the higher stuff is usually better, right? And so that's, really, really tough for them to manage from a creator's perspective, where they have to create something that manages these things. Obviously, they can't just, make ridiculous difficulty scaling levels of bots or whatever like that, or any kind of number of solutions. I'm sure people have thousands of ideas of solutions. One of the things that has been mentioned is the global matchmaking. And I know for a fact that the server regions are tiny, because when I first started playing, I was writing down the usernames of the people that I was playing against because I had a hunch. And every day I was seeing the same people more than 8 or 9 times. This is when I was like really grinding through, so I was really excited to play the game. And I was playing for a lot. But I was seeing the exact same names constantly. Like Emboldened Parrot is someone that I saw 12 plus times. Now, if I play 60 League of Legends games in a day, I would be incredibly lucky to see 2 of the same person. And this is in the same region, Oceania. So I know I keep using League as a comparison. It's not a great comparison, but I think it's a fair point. And I don't want to play against the same person, especially because in Snap, if you have an opponent that's playing something better than you, or works better in the featured location, or whatever, right? For some reason, this person beat you. You don't want to see them a second time. You don't want to see them a third time in a row, which happens quite a lot. There was one time in particular, when I was doing my last run to Infinite, I was ranked 98. I played against the same player in a 1 hour span 9 times, and 6 of those I instantly retreated. I basically emoted, swore at my phone, retreated, waited a random amount of time, and then queued back up again to avoid an instant requeue. Still found the same person. I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm playing another time. Because if I know it's a defeat and I'm retreating and losing a cube, why would I bother entering matchmaking, right? And it's the same thing with a cheating bot, except the cheating bot has a different username every single time, and how do I know? Right? So if I'm just queuing in to lose a cube, what's the point of doing it? And so I think global matchmaking, the biggest thing that has been suggested to counter some of these problems is just something that needs to happen. When I'm sick of playing against the same people all the time, especially when I can't chat with them, I can't be like, hey, 9th time today, yo, remember me? My username is cute feet. There's 0% chance you don't remember me. And being able to play against, a wide range of players, especially when I'm in that top 1% bracket, being able to actually play against other people in my bracket from greater regions and hopefully bump into other cool content creators that I'm seeing making stuff would be really rewarding and different and interesting, and it doesn't happen. And seeing clips of them playing against each other, seeing clips of Binks play against Ben Brode, and me being like, why, I live on the other side of the planet, that's never gonna happen, even though I'm playing in their time zone. It sucks, it feels bad. And until we get global matchmaking, it's gonna continue to suck, and it's gonna continue to feel bad where I'm just gonna be playing against bots when I could be playing against Americans. At 4 a.m. when I'm awake, that's American peak time. Like, what? Why am I playing against cheating bots 12, 16 games in a row when I could be playing against Americans? Anyway, I know that's a huge rant. My regular YouTube video size rant in just one of my dot points. The next conspiracy theory is Steam versus mobile versus BlueStacks. This is an anecdotal one that Jeff Hoagland said in a video, and kind of stung me really hard in a different way, because what he said was he was breaking down the cube rate that he had in a really, really serious climb to Infinite, because normally he plays for content. He doesn't retreat when he should because he wants to see the thing play out for clips and whatever, which makes sense. And he said this time for his run to Infinite, he was retreating when he should be, and he was playing out games that he felt was going to get in the maximum cube rate to get to Infinite as quick as possible. And he had all these stats to bring up and stuff like that. And then he goes, this is all the things that I have, all the stats that I have, because this is the tracker. And the tracker is missing, he said like 60 or 80 cubes or something, which was from playing on mobile in 3 hours. And in that 3 hours, he had like a quadruple cube rate, right? And his reasoning for that was that while playing on mobile, he had less distractions, he didn't have all his screens up, and so he was able to focus more on the game and do better gameplay, which, yes, anecdotal, but I also think that there's something to that, because when I'm playing on Steam, I have a TV show. I binged Kaleidoscope while I was doing my Infinite grind, had Kaleidoscope on in the background, and I'm just as focused playing Marvel Snap. That's the thing I'm looking at while I'm listening to something else. And I was doing horribly. I was getting absolutely slaughtered. I climb into bed. I was wickedly sick. I had chronic hay fever, so I'm sneezing so hard I have a concussion. I can barely keep my eyes open because they're itchy and watering the entire time. And I have body aches, and I'm barely able to focus, lying in bed, praying for death. And I have a hugely positive cube rate. So I think that potentially either that I'm getting different matchmaking on mobile, or like the Steam pool of players is different, like Steam has to verse Steam, and therefore if there's less Steam players, I have a higher chance of playing against cheating bots. Mobile versus mobile pool means there's a greater pool of players playing on mobile, right? So that might also be something to consider. Maybe it's like I always hear these things about speedrun hacks where they're like, we do the speed on this particular device in this specific state because it gives us the best time, right? And maybe this is an exact same scenario where when you're doing your run to infinite, you play on mobile and you grind it out as fast as possible. You hit infinite and then you start doing your content creation stuff, which is on stream, which is on Steam, and you're just goofing around because it doesn't matter. Once you hit infinite, losing cubes is not important. And that seems ridiculous. That like speedrunner optimization has to be done to play the game because the matchmaking is flawed in general. So I don't know, I think that might be another one to consider. Maybe this is the ultimate hidden gem life hack. Get you to infinite, super fast, clickbait video, play on your mobile, Steam's crap. Like, I know it's completely anecdotal, but it seems ridiculous that even though what Jeff Hoagland said, and like the stats that he gave was ridiculous, for the cube rate per hour compared to his regular stream stuff. Because seeing him play on stream and he's explaining his plays, and then like his mistake rate, when he points it out when he makes mistakes, when he loses again, he should have won, he goes, oh, this is the thing I should have done. It doesn't seem that unreasonable that is a play that you would make focused or unfocused or whatever, right? Like, I don't think that the realm of mistake percentage margin is so huge that you could have a 4x cube rate playing on mobile versus PC. And so I think matchmaking is the difference. So if they have different matchmaking based on your device, that could be huge, right? Anyway, that's actually all my dot points. I'm really curious about what other kind of conspiracies people have about the game, because I know there's a lot of data mine stuff. I know there's a lot of anecdotal stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's like stuff that you've just experienced one time. You're like, wow, that was totally, impossible to happen. Or the claims on what cheating bots are and aren't able to do. In my experience, Agent 13 always pulls exactly the card that they need to win the game, which is really frustrating. But what kind of stuff have you experienced? What do you think? Is there any basis to the claims of what I've brought here today? What do you think? And what have you been playing on? What do you think your device makes a big difference? Are you playing on 2 devices like I am? This is a poll. Tell me. Put it in the comments. Let me know. And if you're keen on more Marvel Snap content, I've got a bunch of stuff. I got videos. I got stuff you can look at. You can click these things. Click them. There's also buttons down here to click, but these are videos. This is for you to subscribe and support the channel so I can keep making weird think pieces about game design in Marvel Snap, I guess. Anyway, thanks.